All right. So our first storyteller for the Armed Forces Initiative Veterans Day storytelling event is going to be Hunter, and Hunter runs our Fort Bragg chapter. He's been the leader down there for about a year, and he's been doing some great things. Uh, I'm just going to let Hunter take it away, man. Go ahead.
Cool. All right, Trevor. So, like we discussed, the story I wanted to kind of tell was about a road trip that my family took cross country and kind of the reason behind that road trip. So, at the height of COVID, I was overseas with Special Operations Unit, and we had been through everything, man, from ballistic missiles being launched at us, mortars and rockets, to COVID. And like I told you to write up, we were sitting there in the DFAC one day, and I looked on TV, and I'm like, "What do you mean all the toilet paper is gone?" I was very confused about what COVID was and wasn't, and what was happening. And so I finally came home, and when I got home, we were just on complete lockdown. So I had joined BHA. I'd gotten into hunting. Life was great, and I started reading some books on public lands. And I turned around and I told my wife, I said, "Hey, we should take a trip. Let's get out of here. Let's get away from the house. Let's take a trip. Um, I want to go to Yellowstone. Never been. There's a ton of public land between here and there. I had just gotten into fly fishing. Yellowstone's the mecca of fly fishing. And so she looked at me and she said, "Yeah, let's do it." I was shocked. She never tells me yes that quick to anything. So we loaded up the family a couple months later, and we headed out west. We stopped at something like 16 national forests, and refuges, and just made an entire, like, almost month trip out of it. We drove out, took the wife and the kids to see all kinds of monuments and all kinds of different stuff. We rode out to South Dakota and went and saw part of the Badlands and Mount Rushmore, which was awesome, and the Crazy Horse Memorial, and got up and got to see the Battle of Little Bighorn, and then drove into this Airbnb that was right on the Yellowstone River. I remember getting out and looking at the mountains and just being like, "Wow, this place is awesome. Like, I could totally see myself living here if the prices were not through the roof." And so wife's downloading the car, and I'm staring at the river. My wife looks at me and she goes, "Just go. Just go." I grab my fly pole, I run down, and I start doing what I'm calling fly fishing, which is really just kind of whipping it back and forth across the water, making a real loud splash, scaring fish away. But I'm learning a lot, and I'm just kind of really enjoying myself. And I kind of felt this peace come over me that I hadn't had in a long time from just that. And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." I went to bed and slept real good. Got up the next morning, and we did the touristy thing. We went and saw Gardner, and went and saw the gate and the Yellowstone, and drove through the north side and kind of did that for a day. Hit all the geysers and came back. I told my wife, I said, "No, I don't want to see more of that, like, postcard touristy stuff. I want to get off the beaten path. I want to go see some of the stuff, and I want to do some real fishing." So we headed down to the Lamar Valley, and at this point, I have been in the Army for about 9, 10 years. I'd been medically reclassed due to hearing loss, and then eventually medically retired due to a back issue, knees, TBI, traumatic brain injury, some other issues. I've been working as a contractor and a civilian within the Department of Defense for some time. So I went from that DoD lifestyle straight to the DoD lifestyle. And for those that may not know what that is, it's basically a full time sprint. You're just running at all times. You're moving at what we call the speed of war. There's never a downtime unless you're hurt. You take a knee, drink water, you get up, brush yourself off, you get back at it. So this was my first real time, like, just stopping and really enjoying things, really putting things into perspective. And so I left that morning from the Airbnb. We went to Lamar Valley, and I'm standing there. I start realizing that the mountains are probably the greenest that I've ever seen anything be green, and that I was just generally happy. Um, and it was the first time that I had felt happy in a long time. And I feel kind of sappy saying this. We got that like dark humor is the best humor kind of thing in the military, right? And around our
Yep.
circle. But
Yep.
but like, seriously, there was something missing in my life up to that point. And as we serve, at least for me, and I'm sure it's like that for many, you do so much. Like, I was at 86, I jumped out of airplanes, I deployed to Iraq, I deployed to Afghanistan, I've been to Syria. I've done all this stuff. I've been shot at, right? I've done the shooting. Like at some point you just start feeling invincible. Like like nothing is bigger than you. And it's real humbling to be standing somewhere and look across a river and see bison sleeping that don't need to be. They could get up and crush you in a second. It's real humbling to be standing there in the middle of that ice cold river, knowing how powerful that water is and how powerful that river is, and just really understanding what is around you and appreciating it. And thinking back to things that Teddy Roosevelt and some of the other great conservation leaders did for us. And then as I start casting that fly rod, man, like I'm pushing a 5 weight Orvis fly rod with a woolly booger on it. And every time that woolly booger goes out, it's it's more than just that woolly booger, right? It's kind of like this feeling of concern. It's this weight that I've had on me forever. Some of the things that I've seen and done and dealt with, and some of the issues that I've been having are slowly like washing away as the river passes with every cast. And I know it's super cliche, but like I felt better. I felt better. I felt clean, you know? Um, you know, back when I was doing cool guy stuff, we the team and the unit I was with, we had this deal, right? If you saw something messed up or you did something, you washed your hands as soon as you got back. You just washed your hands of it. And that was done. You don't dwell on it. And that was the first time staying in that river that I felt like things had just been kind of washed away and things were right. And now every time I get into a tree stand, and I live in North Carolina, so I hunt in a lot of pine trees. I get in a tree stand and it's hooked up to a pine tree, and I feel that pine tree start swaying. Um, it's real humbling, real quick. You feel about that big again. Um, yeah, it's awesome. It's a great feeling, man. It really kind of centers you. Make sure that you understand why the reason you're here and need to be here for everybody. I just had this conversation in my office today about how there's so many of us that just don't want to be around. So many of us that are taking our own lives and we shouldn't be. There is something else after the military. And for me, that mission was conservation. That mission's backcountry hunters and anglers. And without BHA, I don't know that I'd be as happy as I am today or as successful as I am today. And I'm grateful for it.
That's a great story, Hunter, man. I I feel all the same things you're feeling. I totally get it. Thank you so much for coming on here and sharing that story with us. Really appreciate it. Um, anything else? Anything else you've got for us today? Anything that goes with it?
I just, like you said on one of the podcasts you did recently, our public lands have been used for our veterans for a very long time, helping the recovery and kind of that get back to center, right? Um, and it's something that doesn't need to stop. And I'm happy that the BHAFI is out there working for us and fighting for us and make sure stuff like the Veterans Recovery Outdoors Act actually happens, because it's too important of a mission to fall to the wayside. So thank you to all you guys.
Thank you, Hunter. I really appreciate everything you do for the state of North Carolina, for Fort Bragg, and for all of our guys down there. Man, it's not what we do; it's what you do, and the hundreds like you for the AFI volunteers are doing. Man, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Trey.